Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So as I've said in a number of previous videos, I've been wanting to expand some of the topics that I talk about on this blog because oftentimes even just covering the race issue is not sufficient to explain the race issue completely without analyzing other topics in regards to the social strata, the social situation in Brazil. So for this reason, that's why I want to take on some other topics, because even if they're not directly speaking to the race issue, because the race issue is part of the overall social dynamics, you know, some other topics will help to explain some of the issues in which, race is so prevalent, why it's so necessary or relevant to discuss. For a few years now, this question of salary inequality and salary inequality being based on gender dynamics is something that's intrigued me for a minute, because obviously it's something that I've studied from the perspective of race as well. But as I've said this over and over again, when you believe something, you have to be willing to challenge what you believe. And if you're challenged on what you believe and you come to find that there may be some problems with your argument, or that the opposition actually has some points that you need to concede, then that's something that you need to do if you really want to be honest about the topic that you claim to be an expert about. So in reality, this, what I'm going to talk about today, it can be applied to both the issues of gender and race, because some of the same things that I've heard that gets applied to gender also applies to race in many ways. Some of the pictures that I'm going to show during this presentation will actually touch upon that. So let me just get into this topic of the day, because I know a lot of us who have followed this situation and these questions for a while are probably familiar with the discussion in terms of the United States. But the question is, okay, how does this apply to Brazil? In all of the years that I've studied the situation in Brazil, I noticed that the Brazilian media uses a lot of data that comes out of the United States and Britain. And sometimes, because they're citing things from United States and Britain, sometimes I won't use the material because I'm looking for material that specifically speaks on the situation in Brazil. And I never want to get into a scenario where I'm assuming that something applies to Brazil when a study is actually speaking on American or British society. So this is a piece that I found, and it is specifically speaking on the situation in Brazil. So the topic of today, the title of the article, Salary Inequality and the Fallacy of the Sexist Oppressive Patriarchy, the View from Brazil. I'm going to just get straight into it, because some of the things that you find will be pretty familiar to you if you've already looked into this issue from the American perspective, and you just see, well, in a lot of ways, it applies to what's going on in Brazil as well. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. So the conversation, debate, and accusations have been brewing for some time now. So as I followed this discussion in the US for some time, I wanted to delve into some of these issues in terms of Brazil. Of course, if you don't know what I'm referring to here, I'm speaking on the sometimes heated debates about why women are not on par with men in a number of areas. Yes, this discussion is also going on in Brazil, and as so many men outside of Brazilian borders seem to have taken an interest in Brazilian women, I wanted to continue discussing questions involving topics such as sexism, gender inequality, the wage gap, and feminism. I'll be coming back to some of these online flyers, just to discuss, translate some of it, and talk about how it applies to the topic of the day. So a few months back, I took a look at a question that was hot on the minds of Brazilians some years ago. It might have been, 3 to 5 years ago. The question was, why is it that someone like Marta doesn't earn the same amount of money as Neymar? For those of you who don't know, Marta is a Brazilian woman who is considered by many to be the greatest women's soccer player in history. Neymar, on the other hand, is considered one of the highest paid athletes of all time, even though he doesn't have the same number of achievements and awards as Marta. By some estimates, Neymar earns upwards of 175 times the amount of money that Marta earns. Why is that, one might ask? Well, the situation involving those soccer superstars are in many ways reflective of the overall discussion about wage and salary inequalities between men and women. And similar to the question raised about the salary differences between Marta and Neymar, there are numerous explanations as to why Brazilian men on average earn more money than Brazilian women. This topic has been beat up for some time in the United States. And as it turns out, in Brazil, as in presumably other countries around the world, the answers to these questions very easily debunk accusations of sexism, machismo, and gender discrimination. Don't believe it? Well, the numbers don't lie. And when we compare apples to apples instead of apples to oranges, this becomes very clear. Some of the answers that emerge in this study can also be applied to the racial dynamic. This data by no means dismisses the existence of sexism or racism, but perhaps presents the data or the questions in a more balanced or accurate picture of why not only women, but also Black people seem to be at an inferior socioeconomic position vis-a-vis men and white people. My conclusion is the following. When confronted with the facts, if one really wants to get to the truth of any matter, said person must be willing to analyze their beliefs and perhaps alter their position when presented with facts that go against their belief system and position on any given topic. It's something I've had to do myself. The report below is courtesy of a site known as Manhood Brazil, and the report breaks down how some of the same facts, educational achievement, university majors broken down by gender and labor statistics, that some of us may know from the United States, and apply the same analysis to Brazil. Let's take a look at a few of these findings. So before I get into that, as I said, I wanted to discuss a couple of these photo flyers that I found online, because as I said, this is a hotly debated topic in Brazil. And every day you see more and more reports coming out with these, these buzzwords, these buzz phrases that are, they're meant to stimulate the conversation and basically say, okay, this is a problem. And it's not to say it's not a problem, but oftentimes when I read this material, I see that they'll have the data, on the surface, like, okay, women earn less than men, but then they don't go further into the statistics and understand, okay, what is the basis of these inequalities? And can we necessarily automatically assume it's because of gender oppression? So this first flyer says, in Brazil, women earn on average 14% less than men. You have another one here says a woman earns a salary 27% less than men. I'm assuming this is ES, is the state of Espírito Santo. I think that's in the southeast region of Brazil. You go on, you look at this flyer, and it says Black women earn 60% less than white men. And so then it says equal work, equal salary. I don't actually have, what problem would I have with that? But the question would be, are we comparing apples to apples or apples to oranges? Are we really looking at what's the cause of these inequalities, or are we just coming to data that says, okay, these men are earning more than these women, and just automatically assume it's based on gender? Here's another one. Does the Black woman earn less? Disequality of gender in the job market. Women still earn less than men. Check out the research. Okay. Another one, women earn 24.6% less than men. Study points out that white men receive more than double the Black woman doing the same function. And again, when I see these, I used to catch up with these type of headlines like, wow, why is this type of thing happen? This is messed up. But then just saying, okay, for example, years ago, I used to work in this very popular Midwestern supermarket. And there were different tiers of how much money you could earn per year. You would get these raises like every 6 months. Sometimes you might get a merit raise for, you did some good work, but usually you would just get these raises in your contract. And so when I first started working in this store, there were people who were in my department who were there 5, 6, 7 years longer than me. So I couldn't go over to that department and automatically assume that I'm supposed to be making the same amount of money as somebody else who had been there longer than me. These are some of the factors that we have to consider when we're looking at making a question of why does this group make more than this group, and then automatically come to a certain conclusion without taking a deeper dive into the data. There's another one that says the average Black woman's salary is 1,027 reais versus average white man's salary being 2,509 reais per month. It's talking about let's fight all forms of inequality and discrimination in the job market. Again, I'm not going to say it's totally inexistent. It doesn't exist, but there's often more data that can help us come to a conclusion and come to the proper response to the question. So that's what I wanted to look at right now. And this, again, this is a courtesy of a website called Manhood Brazil. This discussion of what's going on in the manosphere is something that's taken off in Brazil as well, because they're seeing some of the same dynamics play out. So I just want to, this is one of just numerous articles that talk about some of these hotly debated topics. So let me just get straight into it. And I'm going to present the data that they presented, and you come to your own conclusion at the end of this article. So for decades, the Brazilian people have been massacred with theses, dissertations, reports, media headlines, and highly emotionally appealing reports denouncing hypothetical labor market discrimination against women. This kind of indoctrination has a damaging effect on motivation to work, discouraging both men and women. Okay, you might be able to figure this one out. This says salary inequality, or better yet, salary equality. Basically, that's what they're requesting, which is obviously that's a legitimate demand. But again, let's look inside the data. The salary equality is something that everybody should have, but if you're just entering the job market, you have different credentials, you have different accomplishments in your career, you got different times on the job, a different amount of years on the job. Several factors play into this before we can just say, well, this is unfair salary inequality. Conveniently, what the prophets of these agendas forget to mention is that women are the majority in university courses. A survey presented by the IBGE, the Brazilian Institute of Geography and Statistics, in 2013 showed that among the 20 college careers with the highest number of recent graduates aged 20 to 29, women were not the majority in only 5 of them, which 5 of them being computer science, civil engineering, engineering, economics, and general health courses. Another headline, a Black woman who is graduated from college in Brazil receives 43% of the salary of a white man. Okay, but why? Just stating that fact alone does not give us any credence. That does not give us any depth into understanding the issue, just stating one headline. And as I've said, I've looked at a number of these, and they never go through as thoroughly as what this article is about to do here. Matter of fact, some years ago, I did a similar article on the Black Brazil Today blog, where I showed that, in fact, some of the areas that Black Brazilians were studying with access to the university were lower paying fields that a lot of white people were studying. So, the point here is you can't, if you're studying a social science and the guy next to you is studying engineering, you can't really expect that the salary is going to be the same. That's one legitimate point that needs to be looked at, whether we're talking about the race issue or the gender issue. Anyway, in 2013, the percentages of women in university courses were as follows. In education sciences, 91%, psychology, 87%, nursing, 86%, physiotherapy, 85%, languages, 83%, biology and biochemistry, 72%, dentistry, 69%, pedagogy, 66%, journalism, 64%, marketing and advertising, 57%, administration, 57%, accounting, 56%, law, 55%, medicine, 54%, economics, 47%, civil engineering, 28%, and computer science, 22%. Again, talking about education here. What are women and men studying? Overall, 25% of Brazilian female undergraduates choose to study education, while 19% of male undergraduates choose engineering, production, and construction. that's when they complete their degree. Because a lot of people often don't end up accomplishing that goal of getting that degree. So in 2018, the 5th National Undergraduate Profile Survey of the IFES, or the Federal Institutions of Higher Education, involving 63 universities and 2 centers of technological education, showed that women accounted for 54% of enrollment, while men were only 46%. Not only do men occupy less than half of university enrollments, they also have a 34% lower chance of finishing their degree, as verified by the Education at Blank report conducted by the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, in 2019. As a result, in the population under age 25, 47% of women have an incomplete elementary education, while 50% of men have an incomplete elementary education. 12% of women have an upper-level undergraduate degree, and only 9% of men have an upper-level undergraduate degree. Among 25 to 35-year-olds, 25% of women have a college degree, and only 18% of men have a college degree. Think about that for a minute. Not surprisingly, the average schooling of workers in the PEA, or economically active population, is 7.3 years for women, 6.3 years for men. Women represent 59% of the workers with higher education. They really do study more. So obviously access to education here isn't the problem. However, in 2016, the average salaries for higher level professionals were: women were earning about a little more than 4,800 reais per month, while men were earning a little bit more than 7,500 reais per month. So if they study more, why do they earn up to 37% less than men? Legitimate question. First, because they are less present in the labor market. Women account for 52% of the Brazilian population. However, among Brazilians of working age, only 50% of women participate in the labor market, against 76% of men. In total, our economically active population is 56% male and 44% female. So a first explanation would be women earn less because they are less present in the market. Second, those who participate in the labor market are selective with regard to the type of work and the productive sector in which they will enter. Men are the overwhelming majority in the primary and secondary sectors. They account for more than 90% of the labor force working in agriculture and industry. Of the women who work, 78% are in the tertiary sector. Of the men who work, only 53% are in the tertiary sector. According to the NC website, the tertiary sector covers a wide range of activities, from commerce to administration, transport, financial and real estate activities, business and personal services, education, health, and social work. Whatever the sector of economy, men are simply more inclined to do whatever it is that makes them money. They are seeking autonomy, entrepreneurship, and freedom, and do not connect their emotional life with professional fulfillment. For most of them, work is for making money, not for being happy. For a man, dedication to work is strongly associated with his own masculine identity. For women, things are different. When looking for work, women value aspects such as altruism, stability, and quality of life more. They don't want material gain as much as they want to feel social relevance and security in their chosen career. They want careers that don't require as much dedication and that guarantee a good space for family life. This selectivity can be clearly seen when we check the employability index according to the level of education. Among people with higher education, 89% of men find a job opening compared to 82% of women. Among people with technical education, this percentage is 76% for men, 63% for women. Among people with high school educations, the percentage is 76% for men, 45% for women. As with university courses, female selectivity can also be seen in the choice of job sectors. According to a global survey conducted by LinkedIn in 2017, the percentage of the workforce that is occupied by women in some sectors is as follows. Healthcare and pharmaceutical is 61%, public administration 59%, education 53%, technology 30%, industry 28%, architecture and engineering 27%, oil and energy 25%, and transportation 25%. In other words, basically, While men simply accept to work in anything, women look for jobs that don't cause a radical break with their activities in the domestic and family spheres. Because of this, they end up accepting jobs that pay less but allow more free time for activities outside paid work. Women spend up to 2.5 times more time on domestic and family activities than men. It's important to remember that this is a personal and voluntary choice on their part. It is not a non-negotiable requirement of cultural or normative pressures imposed by force of law, but an instinct embedded in the genetic, biological, hormonal, and psychological nature of most women after hundreds of thousands of years of the evolution of our species on this planet. Which brings us to the next reason why they earn less than men do: the discontinuity of women's life cycle in the labor market. Due to the anatomical, physiological peculiarities of the sexed reproductive system of Homo sapiens, the uterus is in the woman and not the man. This means that periods of pregnancy often result in longer absences from the labor market for women than for men, reducing among women the acquisition of technical and practical knowledge important for better placement and performance in various economic sectors. There is a lack of specific studies in Brazil analyzing the income differential by gender in each of the three economic sectors. But considering the discontinuity of women in the labor market, it is honest to theorize that their less practical experience and lower workload result in lower productivity and consequently lower income. It is clear that none of the three aspects discussed here are even tangentially addressed by the prophets of victimist people, agendas of playing the victim, and the theorists of the oppressive white patriarchy. After all, contact with raw data and facts of reality makes every one of their hyper-emotional narratives crumble. The seductive progressive discourses have never got along with reason, logic, or common sense, but that doesn't exempt them from being wrong. This still less does it exempt them from the responsibility of condemning thousands of men and women to a separatist competition that never existed. We were never separately better than others. We are and always will be much better together. So there was a lot that was packed up into this article. I think this article might have been about, 1,600 words maybe, but it packs a punch. It addresses a lot. This is what I like about pieces like this. They take the headlines and then they dig a little bit further. Now, interestingly, this article points out that there's not as many studies that need to be done to delve a little bit further. When I'm saying not enough studies done in Brazil to delve even deeper into this topic. But of the material that I have found over the last 6 months, there's quite a bit of material out there that again digs deeper into just the simple surface question of men earn more than women. It must be because of sexism. So all I'm going to say is I just wanted to open this up for a bigger discussion. And in future articles, I'm going to explore this a little bit more because there is data out there. It's just the point is, okay, we find this data. Will people be able to accept like, okay, this is what your theory is, but this is what the facts are presenting? Okay. I don't know if that'll change anybody's mind because a lot of times you'll have people who will just continue to believe what they believe, regardless of the data, regardless of the facts. So this is just something that I wanted to talk a little bit about because this topic is so hot in the United States right now. And I think it's intriguing to look at such topics when they apply to other countries. So this is the first of a number of articles I have coming that talk about this situation from Brazil. So hope you like this piece. I think it was very informative. It came with some raw data. Give me your thoughts. I'm curious to know what you thought about this. Was it informative? Did you like the material? Definitely give me a thumbs up. Consider sharing this video to, I think the conversation will be intriguing. I think it would be interesting for people who are studying these same dynamics and how they play out in the United States and Europe. Definitely consider subscribing to the channel and hit that notification button so you'll be one of the first to hear or to see one of my videos when it just gets posted. So with that said, I'm gonna close the video out here and hope to see you all in my next video.